Hello and welcome to Woke Watch, and today is a sad day. You see, the reason my logo looks like this is I used to record these videos whilst driving home from work, hence cartoon me is gripping onto a steering wheel. And if you look at the cover photo for this channel, which I haven't bothered to change for well over 4 years, you'll see there, that's my old Jaguar. That was my old recording studio. And today's sad because Jaguar Land Rover has gone woke. Yes, I know, my X-Type was nothing more than a Mondeo in a party dress, with an engine that started off life in a Ford Transit. But that didn't matter, because in all the time I owned that car, not once did I get cut up on the roads. And the reason for this is, if you live in Britain and you see someone driving a Jaguar, or Jaguar as Americans say, it may be someone just going to or from work, it may be someone doing the shopping or going to pick the kids up. There's also a fair chance that the man driving the Jaguar kills people for a living. I'm also aware that Jaguar Land Rover are now owned by the Indians, in the same way that my equally British car, my Mini Cooper S, it's made in the UK, but under the orders of the Germans. But because I'm British and it's sort of bred into me, if a friend of mine bought a luxury car, say a Mercedes, an Audi, a BMW, I would look at them and say, why didn't you get a Jaguar? Have they sold out? In the same way that if someone bought a luxury off-roader, and it could even be one of the new Bentleys or Lamborghinis, I would look at them and say, you fucking idiot, why didn't you get a Range Rover? So how has the disease of wokeness affected Jaguar Land Rover? Well, employees who work on the production line have been banned from using the word slave. But in engineering, slave is a relevant term. In a hydraulic clutch, there'll be a master cylinder and a slave cylinder. There's also masters and slaves in electronics and the instruments that make up the car's dashboard. But all it means is that the master controls what the slave does. It doesn't imply, let's hoist up the Confederate flag, put on our white hooded robes, set fire to some crucifixes, and spend the evening doing some casual lynching before settling down to watch Gone with the Wind. Just on that, recently, Mrs. Disgruntled and I watched Gone with the Wind. But before you can stream it, there's a massive disclaimer warning the viewer that the values and standards in the film don't reflect modern society. Who the fuck is that for? I'm sure I could have worked out for myself that a film that's 83 years old, set during the American Civil War, won't be overly PC. It wasn't like I was expecting Scarlett O'Hara to be a biracial autistic trans woman struggling to come to terms with Z's sexuality. And yes, Z and Z are now recognised by woke people to be legitimate pronouns. So staff who work for Jag or Landy can no longer use the word slave, even though there were only a handful of complaints. And other employees describe those who made the complaints as known troublemakers. And that's very much part of being woke, finding a problem that doesn't exist and using it to make the lives of your colleagues that little bit harder. Of course, at the mention of slavery, most people will think of what I've already alluded to, the transatlantic slave trade and all the horrors that went with it. But slavery's gone on for as long as there've been people, and it's not like anyone's phoning the Egyptians saying, get them pyramids down, you anti-Semitic bastards. But the Egyptians wouldn't have called their slaves slaves because the word didn't yet exist. So where does the term slave come from? The word slave is derived from Slav. And slavery refers to a practice by 9th century Muslims of travelling to Eastern Europe in order to abduct people and force them to work for no wages. So the original definition of slavery is brown people enslaving white people. And if more people knew that, I guarantee all the screaming oversensitive woke bastards would rapidly shut the fuck up. Getting back to Jaguar Land Rover, all the components they use, which were previously called slaves, have had to be renamed. And they've opted for surrogate, which makes no fucking sense. So if we go back to our hydraulic clutch, well, surrogate just means in place of. So we have a master cylinder. Can I call it a master cylinder anymore? Should it not be a mistress cylinder so it isn't part of the patriarchy? Mistress still doesn't work. We have a gender non-binary authority figure cylinder controlling a slave cylinder that's now called a surrogate cylinder because it's the same component. So we have a slave cylinder called a surrogate cylinder that means it's in place of the slave cylinder, which is what it fucking is. And the other thing is that the term slave cylinder has been used for over 120 years, but now it's a problem. And if this is the sort of thing which Western companies are worrying about, possibly upsetting some woke lunatics who don't know their history, then it's no fucking wonder the world's markets are being dominated by the Chinese. As ever, thanks for watching. Hello and welcome to the fucking wind. Of course, whenever, fuck's sake, has the disease of wokeness affected Jaguar? Well, they stopped making the XJ so they could fucking bollocks to it. Jaguar. Well, they stopped making the XJ. I just can't go on with this. Sorry, a few weeks ago I saw an electric Jaguar. There's no hope for humanity. Of course, I knew. No, there's the wind again. Oh, fuck it. Surrogate. Just me. No, that still hasn't fucking gone. Oh, fucking hell. Nearly.